Between the Ribs with host Jonathan Morris, fourth-generation farmer. First-hand insight into farming, faith, and family, as only Jonathan can bring. Between the Ribs. Between the Ribs on Florida Man Radio.
What's cracking like it, everybody? Jonathan Morris here with Between the Ribs, another episode. Hope you're having a great day. In the studio with me on the opposite side today, running the ones, the twos, the boards.
All of them.
Heather Hippopotamus.
Hello.
What a beautiful setup you have here, ma'am. How's your day?
It's just starting. Let's
Getting all
see how
your
it goes.
technical stuff. I like your new mouse over there. I can see it.
Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
I could no longer work this board, this little pad thing. My fingers, no.
Right.
I have to get a mouse for it.
Whatever we have to do to make it continue with progression. We firmly believe in progression over perfection. We may mess up a bunch.
We'll get
but
there.
we're walking the road. We're walking the road. Between the Ribs, obviously, farm, faith, family. You heard the introduction. But I want to tell you, we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on. The socialist attempted takeover of America, corporate greed that is aligned with the government that is selling out Americans, and much more than that. But with back to school coming, I wanted to get into the importance of the family part of Between the Ribs and Morris Family Farms, We the People, and it starts at home.
I cannot even imagine what back to school is like for you and your 8 kids and what it was like in the heyday of when 8 kids in school.
Yeah, well, pretty much all of them. I think when the oldest ones were in, Annabelle and them were young, Annabelle and Julian, but we still had little Rams, the little pre-K stuff and, daycare. Not so much daycare, but whatever kids go to when they're little. My wife will have to fill you in on all that.
Preschool.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what it's called, preschool.
Yes.
Preschool, pre-K, K3, K4, K5.
That's all preschool.
That's all preschool?
Yeah, you don't actually have to go to preschool. You
Yeah,
actually
but-
don't even have to go to kindergarten. You don't even
Really?
have to start school until the child's like 8 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a fact?
Yes.
Or you made that up right now?
It's real.
You can opt out till you're 8?
Yeah, but who wants their kid graduate? I mean, but there's...
Oh, they still have to start first grade, no matter how.
Yeah, it would have to
Oh.
be first grade.
Okay, all right. So they just don't skip the second and third.
Yeah,
as an
and there's a
8-year-old.
good chance that they may not, if you wait that long, there's a good chance they
They're gonna
may
be
not
stupid.
pass the... They may not be stupid. There's lots of people out there teaching their kids their ABCs and how to color in lines. Because
Well-
really, what is kindergarten?
Okay, all right.
Numbers.
So if you're teaching your child at home, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you're just like, he's only 5, he's only 6, she's only 7, she's 8, let's go to school. Then you got that kid standing in the front yard yelling, the plane, the plane, the plane, and he's 19 and he's blown away by the plane in the sky. You know what I mean? Big raising dummies. But we're going to get to that because we don't need more sheeple. We need more people, free-thinking people. But real quick, part of local, part of family is making sure you have nutrition for your family. And we are a farm, faith family, butcher shop, rancher, extraordinaire family, Morris Family Farms, Organic Meats. So if you like local, if you're tired of government oversight on meat, and I'm going to talk about the EPA toward the end of the show, they actually held public hearings back in January, March, and then in June, they did an official review, official count internally based on the public hearings, but they were notified, or the notice of the public hearings were so non-advertised, there was hardly anybody there. So it was basically the people from the Communist Party of the EPA sitting around talking amongst themselves, voting amongst themselves with very limited public input.
Input, yeah.
And that's Brody. Brody's mad as hell about that. He's really upset about the EPA. But when I get to that story, it'll help you understand more why we do what we do and why we talk about all the things we talk about. But if you're tired of overreach from the government, if you're tired of them dictating how farms work on a small level in order to push them out so that there's only the big 85%, which is crazy. 85% of the meat production in America is controlled by 3 companies. Now, let me pause for a minute and say I 100% support and agree with free capitalism. And if you have the ability to get big and be big and stay big, good for you, great for you, great for your family. I hope one day Morris Family Farms has 1,000 employees and we're in every state in these great United States of America. But just like what Spider-Man's grandpa told him, with great power comes great responsibility. So as you grow from a small local business feeding your community and you get a bigger and bigger footprint, you have responsibility to the people that built you. And you have a responsibility to the new communities you go into. You are not supposed to sell them out to align yourself with government agencies to start having the policies and politics and the legislation changed and written to benefit only you to suppress competition. And that is the fine line that I find myself in a lot of conversations with, because I truly support free capitalism. But sometimes people say I sound like a socialist, which I don't understand that. Because let me know how you feel about this. You start a company, free capitalism, and you go out and you start making money. You're the small guy. You're David fighting Goliath. You start building a brand. You start building a footprint. You start gathering customers. You start getting more and more reach. Now you need to grow your business, whether it be in electrical or in our case, we're ranchers, farmers. So we went from having 10, 15, 20 pigs to now we got to have 100 pigs to feed our people. You know, we went from 30 cows to having 70 cows to feed our people. Well, people keep talking, customers keep growing. We have to increase our herds, increase our stock, have more chickens, more pigs. Our butcher shop in Lake Mary can't sustain at some point, so now we need a second location. So we start to grow and develop. And then next thing you know, you're all over the state, all over the region, all over the nation.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when I get to that point, I look over my shoulder and I start counting John Bo's money. I made John Bo up. John Bo's another farmer. And I realize that now John Bo is not just feeding his town, his county. He's all over the state. He's all over the region. He's starting to become national. Well, I don't like that. He's going to cut into my profits. But I'm so much bigger than him that I can see around the curve while he's still at a state level, and I can get my buddies that I'm paying money to start writing legislation to start restricting more and adding more rules and adding more requirements to financially stop his growth.
That's rude.
It is, right? Well, it is rude.
It is.
And it's almost un-American because it's supposed to be.
You should be supporting each other, but even if you have competition, you can't support your competition. You have to look out for yourself. So there is a fine line there.
It's a fine line, and it's like you don't want to ask the government to help you eliminate your competition, but you also don't want the government to restrict you so your competition can flourish and maybe put you out of business. So it's really a fine line. And when people ask me, well, do you believe in capitalism or not? Well, I do. But I think as a capitalist, you owe the people who gave you the capital, because capital is money. That's what it is. It's fluid money. By having capital, that's fluid money that you can move and operate on. That's what capital is. Or it's stock, it's real estate, it's property. That's your capital is basically your net worth, what you have to operate on. But you sharing it
that's the socialism part, right?
What do you mean by sharing? Make sure you're on the same page with it. Let me know what you mean by that.
Okay, so you saying that it's all y'all's responsibility working to.
It's my responsibility to the people that help build me.
Right.
To maintain my authenticity.
Okay. Because the actual definition with socialism talks about as opposed to private ownership. It's a means of social ownership of the means of production as opposed to private ownership. But you were talking private ownership.
I'm meaning this. I own my farm.
Because I'm trying to figure out how could socialism even come into that.
Well, here's why. Because I think, and we're going to get to John Deere. You can't talk about John Deere and how they sold out the American people enough. So I'm gonna get to all this, kind of like laying the show out, you know. But free capitalism is, to some people, at all costs, stay in business, cut throats, destroy your competition, and king of the hill type mentality. And I get that. Trust me, I get that. When you're trying to provide for your family, and now you have employees, and you have more employees, and they have families, and you want to make sure their paychecks are always there, and you're raising all these animals, and you have a obligation to God who's given you all this product and stock, and you got to be a good steward of everything you have. So that's the discussion I want to start unfolding, is the fine line between all-out capitalism and government alignment with capitalism that turns into what we are here in America today. And I understand, I really do. I've been talking to a lot of people, and I understand why so many people are happy with this Harris-Walsh ticket. And when I say people, sheeples, because they don't understand that communism and socialism are hand in hand. And again, we're going to cover all this, but we're at a point where 85% of the meat produced in America is controlled by 3 companies. Now, it's not just because these companies are so good at what they do that everybody is in love with them and in love with their product, and it's the best meat, and they take care of the animals the best way, and they care about the consumer in the best manner. That's not why they control 85% of the business. They control it because they've got with the FDA, with the EPA, with the USDA, all communist bastards operations, and they've allowed openings, if you will, on restrictions that are against people. For instance, allowing nitrous oxide to be put into beef so it stays redder longer in a display case. That's a no-brainer. Nitrous oxide they put in race cars to make them go faster, to make engines burn hotter. Nitrous oxide, too much of it, will kill you.
Is that the same stuff that people used to huff, like Whippets?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Is it?
Yeah. Were you a Whippet huffer?
No.
Don't derail me today, please.
No.
Have you ever smoked a light bulb?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, man, we used to have this kid that went to our church. We called him Light Bulb Brad. All right, the show's over. All right, we're done. Put away the notes. We used to call him Light Bulb Brad.
Okay.
And they caught him in the youth group room one day, and he was up on a stool, and he was taking out the long light bulbs. I don't know the name of them.
The
halogenics. Halogen light bulbs. And he was busting off the end of it. And that smoke that comes out, you huff it. Well, let me say this. Please do not smoke,
Don't do that.
huff, inhale light bulb fumes. It will kill you.
This is a Florida man, wasn't it?
It was here in Florida, yes.
Of course
yeah,
it was.
It was at our church, at Lake Mary Church. I got no shame. At Lake Mary Church in the youth group, this was many years ago, we caught a kid on a stool taking lights out of the ceiling so he could huff them. And that was his deal. He said it was cheap, you know?
Not for the people replacing the light bulbs. Have you replaced one of those lately?
Yeah, they're insane. They're stupid. We have them at our shop up in the ceiling.
Oh my
they're
gosh.
ridiculous.
Even the ones for like lizard cages that are only 24 or 27 inches
Right.
are like $30.
Are your lizards huffing them? Is that why you have to replace them?
No.
If you see little lizard
No,
holes
the
in them,
the UVA and UVB
it goes out.
decreases in
Yeah.
time.
And then
Right.
you got the, what's the
Which
thing?
reminds me, I should probably replace
Is it a master something? The something master?
The hood?
No, there's the box that controls the electricity to them. There's a name for it. I'm not an electrician. Sparky could tell us. He could call in and tell us. Phones aren't working this, Sparky. But
Leave a comment.
yeah, leave a comment. So I'm trying to go somewhere, and I apologize.
That was my fault this
Heather
time.
and I get harebrained. But Morris Stanley Farms Organic Meats, we are committed to our customers. We are committed to our mission statement of your food, your farmer. We are the farmer. It's your food. And we promise no matter how big we get, we're never going to sell you out, and we're never going to start doing shady stuff with the government. We're going to keep our product clean and pure. So Morris Stanley Farms Organic Meats, it's 407-402-5686 is the number you can call and text. Or we have our store. It's a very simple store. It's just click and buy, click and buy. If you want conversation, call or text 407-402-5686.
He will talk to you.
If you want a quick meat box, go to organicmeats.com, order a box, and we'll ship it out to you. You get it within like 2 days. It's super fast. We have a pretty good system now. We got a lot more to get to. With school coming back, the importance of fathers and mamas. We'll be right back. Hey, teachers, leave them kids alone. That's a back school theme song. If you're not old enough to understand, you're not old enough to understand. You don't know that song, do you? Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I brought Annabelle Grace into the family, into the show. Say hello.
You brought her into your family. Yeah,
I did.
made her.
I did. I planted rose and plowed deep.
We're going to leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. And here's Annabelle, the daughter of Mama Morris.
Hi.
Speak up, girl. Let them hear you.
Hi.
So I brought Annabelle in on this next topic. It's not really a topic. It's more of a problem. It's very problematic. It's not just an American problem. It's a world problem. So I wanted to ask Annabelle, are you glad I'm your daddy?
Yes, sir.
Have I made your life better or worse as a dad?
Better.
How say you?
Because I mean, like, if
You know, Speak up.
if you weren't like my dad, I think I would be a different person.
yes, you would be different, DNA structurally, and also with brains. How do you think? Okay, and I used to work a lot, right? So, and I want you to be honest. The difference between when I was always gone and I was leaving at 2 in the morning, coming back at 11, 12 at night, only sleeping for a couple hours in the name of we had to save our business and save our family and all the work we had to do. How was life back then compared to now that I realized the error of my ways and we're spending more time at home and more time with family? And yes, we still work, but work doesn't consume our life anymore.
I definitely like now better.
Okay.
That is a huge shift. You went from working 24/7, 24/8, let's be honest, to suddenly he's home doing his exercises in its chair, like there for you if you need homework help or if you need a snack or whatever. That's pretty cool.
Yes. And she actually has been part of my caretaking ability during my rehab with my knee replacement. Annabelle's helped me out a lot. But and if you feel weird, you don't have to answer. But I just kind of want people to know and lean in real close when you talk. All right? I want people to know, and you can be 100% honest. You won't hurt my feelings. Back when things weren't good, did you have times where you were lonely or you were sad? I don't necessarily say depressed. Maybe you were depressed, but you just kind of felt like you were on your own. You had to figure things out compared to now. And just share a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Look in the camera.
I had to do stuff on my own, but now it's like I have like my dad back.
Yeah? Got your dad back? And you're happy about that? Are you gonna cry on the show? Oh, I love you, baby.
But I mean, I have someone who straightens my hair now. So.
I did. That's right. For the record, Jonathan Morris can straighten a girl's hair. That is in my repertoire now. Well, I'm glad, and I'm sorry for all the times I was gone, but I'm glad God's given us the opportunity to restore and rebuild our family. Are you ready for a new school year with Dad by your side and Mom also by her side? By the way, we are a united family. But do you feel overall better? And the attitude of you and your sisters and brother, the whole family just seems to flow better now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? All right, cool. This is Annabelle. She has a lot of words. She talks a lot normally. A little shy right now?
It's a little different when there's a microphone.
You got to open your mouth. The people on the radio can't hear your nod.
But we will have the podcast up for you on your YouTube, and hopefully we'll have the video working for it.
Yes.
So you'll get to see beautiful Annabelle.
Yes. And we were talking about earlier before the show, we call them daddy issues, where sometimes, and Audrina and Alina, Alyssa, a little bit older, when their friends come over and I can spot within 5 minutes of somebody who has daddy issues.
Now, what do you consider daddy issues? Is it just the dad wasn't there all the time so that they'd be independent? Or what is a daddy issue to you?
Well, and Annabelle can maybe talk about it a little bit where they get aggravated and frustrated sometimes once they see it. There's certain girls, and I'm not mad at the girl. I understand. And I used to be very rude, and I would tell the girl, I'm not your daddy. You can't call me dad. But you would notice young ladies that would come over, and they'd come over for a play date with Annabelle. She has a friend that's done this, and all my girls have had at least one friend. They come over, and I'm just supposed to be here in the background.
You're the Kool-Aid house.
I'm just the dad, right? I'm the dad of the friend. I'm just here. But everything they would do, they would have to come out and make sure I saw, and they got recognition from me. And if Annabelle did something, a drawing, they would almost like try to one-up her with me just to be like, oh, Annabelle's looks good, but Mr. Morris, or can I call you daddy? Look at mine. I'm like, no, I'm not your dad.
That would be a hard stop. Whoa.
Is that weird as a friend when you see your friends that have that? Does that make you feel like it's a competition for your dad? Or is it just, at your age, no big deal?
That's just really weird.
Yeah?
Have you asked them why they admire your dad so much?
Not at all.
Do you feel like it's kind of cool that maybe they think that your dad's cool? No. Oh, you don't think your dad's cool, do you?
No, I think my dad's
Oh, you do?
like a little cool.
A little.
Little.
So
Yeah.
it's not okay for your friends to think that he's cool?
It's just not okay if they call him dad.
Yeah, no, that's weird. I agree.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm your dad. I'm not supposed to be their dad. Mm-hmm. Right?
He's got 8 kids. He can't spread out anymore. No more kids. Annabelle's the last one. You tell them no.
Annabelle is the baby. But we laugh a little bit as a family, but we don't make fun because it's sad. And we're going to get to why we're talking about this and why I brought Annabelle in for a few minutes, because it's a real thing. It's not just dad issues, and there's actually a therapeutic word called a father wound. And I have to admit, I'm guilty of that with my two oldest children. Yeah, I actually called Audrina today, and I texted my son, JJ, I'm sorry, I'm a bad dad, but I'll be better. Well, you just don't realize it. And
well, and when they're not there to actually talk to, or like, because those are the two that have moved out, like, right?
Yes. Well, and one more question for Annabelle before I let her go. Does it matter to you why I'm gone, or just the fact that I'm gone?
Would it matter if he was fishing or working on the farm or just hanging out with buddies?
Just that he's gone.
So, and that's something I want to touch on.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say to the dads out there, as a daughter, as my daughter, to any of the dads listening that may be gone too much? Is there anything you want to tell them? And I'm putting Annabelle on the spot, by the way, everybody. Is there any way that you may want to say to them as a daughter that can help guide them?
I think you should be with your daughters every day. I have at least like 2 hours with them.
2 hours? Okay.
That's so much.
I can do 2 hours. Can y'all do 2 hours with your daughters every day? I hope you can.
That's like 12 hours for you, though, because you've got 6 kids that are still here.
Oh, can I double dip? Can I do like you and Aurora at the same time?
Okay.
You got to speak. You got to speak.
Yes.
Okay. But we've been doing fun games lately, right? We've been playing the signs games, and we do spoons sometimes, and we've been watching some movies.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you excited about this next school year?
A little bit.
A little bit. You're going to be a 7th grader.
A little bit.
A little bit. All right. Well, I love you, baby. Thanks for coming on with us.
Love you.
All right. Annabelle's going to exit stage left, and I'm going to readjust real quick. Sorry about the noise. But I found some. How are we on time?
Oh, we have like 4 minutes.
All right. I found some staggering. Is staggering a good word?
No, it sounds like another one you made up.
Staggering. I like to put words together. So you get a double meaning out of the word. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did we talk about we sell meat yet?
No, you haven't. Tell us about the meat you sell.
We didn't talk about meat in the last segment.
We
You know what? If we did, let's talk about it in this segment.
Okay.
If you want fresh, farm-raised, local beef, and I like to say the way Jesus or God intended it, because if you go back to Song of Solomon and Ecclesiastes, it talks about farming way back then in the Old Testament. And it actually, for all the crazies out there that are like, it can only be 100% grass. They got to bend over and eat the grass. They can't eat anything else. That's not biblical. But also for the distorted, grain-fed, force-fed cows, that's not biblical either. Solomon talks about cows from the barn, the fatted calves, which are ones that have brought in and they have been fed corn and different oats to get them a little extra fat on them. He talks about there's a season for that. He also talks about there's a season for cows on the mountainside or on the range, which is the pasture, open lands. He talks about goats and lambs in the barn, in the storehouse, talks about them on the mountainside, open grazing. Talks about chickens, hens, ducks, feathers of the air, fish. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm not trying to ever push my belief of God on anybody. I believe in God. There's only one God. I believe in Jesus Christ. And that's cool. That's my thing. If you don't like it, I'm sorry for you. And if I can help you, great. And if I can't, I'm not going to be mad at you. That's your decision. But it's kind of cool. And that's what I tell people all the time. The people with a different belief system about the Big Bang and evolution and this and that, all the different theories, the upside down turtle. And I just found out about that on Tuesday. I didn't even know there was a theory.
Oh, it's not upside down.
The Buddhism?
Well, it's not. The turtle's not upside down. It's.
I thought Eric told me the turtle's on his back. So the 4 legs of the turtle is holding the earth.
Oh, no. We're just riding on the back of the turtle. And like there's some dome or something.
Like in Nemo, like in Free Nemo or whatever that movie is?
No.
Finding Nemo where they're riding the Australian turtles through the wave?
No.
So the turtle's walking around in space.
In space.
But I didn't think you walked in space.
I don't know how this really works.
So the turtle's floating around in space, and we're on its shell, kind of teeter-tottering, just kind of pivoting around.
Yeah, something like that.
Does he got double-sided glue or Velcro?
I don't know.
To hold us on his shell? So do you understand what kind of human being you have to do to believe that? I admire your belief system. I do not have that much faith in anything. Listen, my wife will sit next to me and you'll say, that is my wife, right? And I can believe that. But that's as far as my faith goes. That's it. And I believe in God because he's real to me. Like my wife is real to me. For the people, I just don't have that faith. So I commend you for having that faith. But if you understand the Bible, and the Bible is the oldest written book on the planet, the scrolls, the tablets, there's nothing older than that. Our food goes all the way back to the Old Testament on how to eat, when to eat, the seasons to eat it in, fruits, vegetables. It's pretty amazing. So if you want stuff old-fashioned, Old Testament, biblically raised, slaughtered, processed, and ready for you, Morris Family Farms Organic Meats. You can check us out on the Facebook. You can call or text our store, 407-402-5686. We have crazy meat box options that we can send you a meat box every month or every week, however you want it. You can call or text to get those, or you can go on organicmeats.com, which we're still in the process of building. So right now it's a very simple one-page deal where you go on and you click on a steak box, a meat box, a weekender box, which is pretty cool if you're just having a barbecue and you just want some stuff for the weekend. We have our half cow, whole cow, quarter cows, half pigs on there. If you want to order in bulk, we can either deliver in person. We go to Fort Walton. Actually, I'll be back in Fort Walton the second Saturday of September. I don't have it official yet. I got to call Troy next week to line up, but we're at like 90% that we're going to have a party at Sunbelt. I got to work out the details with Troy, but we got that lined up, and I'm going to bring all the meat. He's going to host the event. It's going to be a rock and roll place for us to hang out on a Saturday. Heather's coming. We're actually doing a live show. We've already talked about this, remember?
Yes. I'm
We've already
trying.
talked about it.
I'm trying.
Well, there's room in the back of the dually.
No.
For you and all the kids. We'll get you a boat. We'll send you out there on a boat. So we're going to get back to the father issues at hand because it's time that we the people, start realizing that it's up to us to raise our children. Free thinking human beings, no more sheeple.
Just a young gun with a quick fuse. I was uptight, wanna let loose.
Research shows that when fathers are involved, children are 2 times more likely to go to college and 80% less likely to spend time in jail and 75% less likely to experience teen pregnancy.
I believe it.
Now, I am not a pro-college guy, right? Like, if you go to college, if college is for you,
Then cool.
then cool, go to college.
Right.
I believe in trade schools.
Trade schools are kind of the same thing. Further education.
Yeah, I guess you're right. College is wrapped up in, I'm not trying to get into the college debate right now, but college is wrapped up into this pretense of you got to go to a 4-year college, spend a bunch of money on more math, science, English, history, things that you may or may not ever use. I mean, math you use every day no matter what you do as a living or for a living. But so don't get focused on the 2 times more likely to go to college. Focus more on with a dad in the home, with a dad involved. And we're going to get the difference between a dad at home and a dad involved. 80% less likely to go to jail and 75% less likely to deal with teen pregnancy. Now, that's for boys and girls. Because a lot of times, teen pregnancy, the ugliness of it falls on the girl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're a 15-year-old girl pregnant, or you're a 16-year-old girl pregnant, but a dude pregnated you.
Right.
So I don't really like the fact that the guy normally in society standards gets to escape on that ugliness of it. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I do.
I don't have another word other than ugliness of it. But the girls kind of carry that scarlet letter, if you will. But it takes a boy to get a girl pregnant. So as a father and a mother, you really don't want to be the dad or the mom of a 14, 15-year-old boy trying to raise a baby.
That would be really hard.
So 75% less likely to end up as a teenager daddy. I'm going to read some of these because I don't want to mess them up. But all the studies are showing that when a father is involved, and not just there, the positive force is in their children's education. When they do get involved, their children are likely to do better in school. Now check this one out. Fathers who wait or are not involved in the foundation of their children, there's a negative student achievement. Negative student achievement.
So they do worse in school.
They do worse in school, basically. 71% of high school dropouts are fatherless. And I know I'm not the best with the English language, so please forgive me as I put sentence structures together.
You're just a good old Southern boy. We all know you by now.
But 71% of high school dropouts are fatherless?
That would make sense. I mean, because think of how many kids drop out of high school. I mean, I'm sure the number's not extremely high, but yeah, those would be probably the troubled kids, the ones having to get jobs for their family.
Right. But look
or
at
the
these-
ones who just don't see college in their future. I know some people like that who did drop out in high school because they weren't.
But you can't get a job without a GED, I thought, or a high school diploma.
I mean, you can. You can work on fields. You can do tattoos. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But let's say it's better for the social development of a person and to have some sense of knowledge to at least get a high school diploma. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
I'm not promoting dropping out of school. Please stay in school.
It's just
But
high school.
the numbers are staggering to me. So 71% of dropouts come from a fatherless home. But if you have a father and an active father in home, you're 80% more likely to not go to jail and 75% more likely to not have a teenage baby.
I do believe that because you'll probably be spending more time with your father. You'll probably be trying to not necessarily impress, but get his approval more.
Right.
Because, I mean, no child in the world can say that even though they live with mom or dad or both, that they don't seek that approval.
Right. Now,
of course, we have switched that approval from parents to social media.
Influencers. I'm glad you brought that up. No, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to try to go through these a little fast.
Okay.
I don't want to go through them too fast. I have so much to get to the second hour. We can't do. I mean, the father topic or the family topic is more of a problem. I've already said this is problematic throughout the world.
Yeah.
The family structure is in a battle. You know, we talk about the attack on Christianity, the attack on this, the attack on that. You know, watch out for socialism and communism coming up, the government overreach, all these problems. But none of these problems would exist with strong family structures and strong family units. And that means mom and dad.
Yeah.
And something, I'm going to say this, and I mean this with all my heart. Amy and I have been married 29 years this month. We got a couple weeks left.
Crazy.
She just celebrated her birthday. And so August is a big month for us.
You make me feel really old. When you say you've been married like 30 years, and I'm like, you're barely older than me. Like, that makes me feel so
Listen,
old.
I don't encourage I don't encourage this behavior. I met Amy one night, and
When
2
you
months later
were
we got
17.
married. I just was turning 18, yes.
Okay.
And it was the summer I was turning 18, and I had already lived my life. And I know one day my kids are like, you got to tell the testimony, you got to tell your testimony. I grew up when I was 12. And from 12 to 17, when I met, it was actually 18, but when I met Amy, I was done. I met her and I was done. I want to settle down. I'm done. I'll leave it at that. I had done everything most grown men have not had done. All right?
Yeah. You were tired of messing around and you're ready to settle.
Yes. I grew up big. I grew up fast. I lost this college scholarship. And I worked for a nightclub. I did everything you can imagine. I never got ID'd because I looked grown when I was 14. So I grew up fast, and we're going to leave it at that.
Okay.
So when I met Amy, I don't know, there's just something about it. It just stuck.
And y'all were married within 3 months, and you say you don't recommend that.
Yes,
Not
because
in this
I
day and
don't
age.
I don't know if people can I don't know if people have the perseverance to do it anymore. Because this is my problem. This is my problem. Did I not pop it? Did I work that one out?
I didn't see any pops. You're good.
This is my issue with today's society. We got married, we said our vows, but we're really not going to pay attention to that till death do us part. We're not really going to focus on the in good times and bad times, in sickness and in health. We're going to just focus on our happiness, our fun, our excitement, our thrill.
Today.
Do you make me feel sexy anymore?
The current.
Do you still turn me on? Or do you still make me happy at night when I come home? Do I still love looking at you in the morning? And we focus on those as a society today, and divorce is too easily an option. Now, I'm not picking on people that's been divorced, all right?
I mean, sometimes it's got to happen.
But I kind of am, especially when you have children involved. And I understand the toxicity of a broken home with the home trying to stay together. So there's so many layers of this onion that can be pulled apart, and that's for you to figure out with your family. But the vow of two are going to become one, and we are going to produce little people. But when you and I aren't happy anymore, it don't matter about the kids, don't matter about the future, their future. We're going to separate. I'm going to get a girlfriend or a new wife. You're going to go get a boyfriend or a new husband. And we're going to just show our children that commitment does not matter. Because you make a commitment. You vow before God, whatever God you vow before, and before the law of the land. You sit before a magistrate. A judge has to sign your marriage license. If you get married in a church, or you get married in a courthouse, or you get married out in Las Vegas, it's not legal until a judge signs off on it. Correct?
Yeah.
And you have to do it in front of witnesses, whether it be a witness you met.
A witness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, whether it be like, hey, I met a witness at a bar. Come follow us down to the Elvis funeral. I mean, the Elvis marriage.
It's funeral. Not what you think of marriage.
Come on down to the Elvis chapel and just sign here that you saw us get married. So it's a contract. It's a commitment. And then when things don't go right, how easily it's broken. And I think that's fundamentally the problem with society today, that we're raising children and we're telling them, do as I say, not do as I do, because we break contracts as adults all the time. Things don't go our way. We pitch a fit. Our marriage ain't working out. We just get divorced, or I'll go cheat, or you go cheat, or I'll go out of the country for 2 months, or, whatever the case is. And then we expect our children to grow up and be these fundamentally sound people. And we wonder why they're lost. So I'm going to read through some of these. I highlighted them, or I highlight them. I highlighted them.
Just read them.
Children without fathers are more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and behavior problems. Does that sound like the world we live in today?
It kind of just sounds like puberty, but keep going.
The lack of a positive father figure can make it challenging for sons, and we're going to go sons and daughters. Okay. So first we're going to work on sons, and then we're going to talk about daughters.
Okay.
The lack of positive father figure can make it challenging for sons to develop a strong sense of worth, a positive self-concept, which can lead to low self-esteem and other psychological issues. Does that sound like young men of today's world?
I mean, it still kind of sounds like puberty. A dad's the answer. No, it does sound like...
now we're talking about the lack of a dad. So now we're talking about adults. They've gone out, they've grown. They're 18, 19, 20 years old now. Now they're men out trying to function in society. They had no dad to get them through. Like, we just dealt with something with Julian. Not a big deal, and hopefully I don't make this sound bad. But Julian has been a phenom his whole life. He's always got what he's wanted because he's always been the best at everything he's done. So now he's playing organized football, and on purpose I held him back, but I also crippled him a little bit because he doesn't understand the game as an organized game, play sheets, play calling, motions, movements, them changing the play at the line, which way to lock in. There's a lot about football that he doesn't know yet. And at times, football isn't just about hitting and getting hit. There's a lot of other stuff to go in. And he has been all defense, all defensive end, all nose guard. He lays his ears back and he just goes and hits people. Well, now they're making him play on the offensive line. He's not particularly happy about it. He doesn't know offensive plays. And he came home from football practice a couple of days very frustrated, very aggravated. Almost used the words like he doesn't like football.
What? That is such an such a level-headed kid that I can't even imagine those words, anything coming out of him that wasn't just sweet and nice.
But listen, it was emotional. He's 14, and he found himself in a situation where he wasn't necessarily getting his way. And I don't want to make this sound bad because Julian's a fantastic kid.
Right. Super cool kid.
So at first I got angry. And I was like, well, I'll call the coach tomorrow. And don't worry, we've already had 2 schools offer us money for you to go play. And I won't say the names of the school because it's illegal. But, I can transfer you to schools.
No, high schoolers can play for money now. Oh, but maybe not transfer school. Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I was like, you have options. If your coach ain't going to do what you want to do, I'll fix it. And then Amy and I were praying and we're laying in bed and we're talking about it. And I was like, wait a minute, that is terrible parental advice.
You were taking control of the situation.
I'm just making sure. Or no, I'm making sure my son gets his way. So as he grows up as an adult, if he don't get his way, he's not going to know how to respond to that because we don't always get our way. Right. Even professional athletes don't always get their way. I mean, Serena Williams, just the other day, you saw a thing about her not getting her way. She made a nasty post on social media about somebody who wouldn't serve her just because she was Serena Williams. they're not used to being told no. So when they get told no, they react in a childish manner. So the next morning, I got up with Julian before he left for football, and I was like, hey, listen, I was thinking last night, how about pay your dues, humble yourself. The Bible says to honor your leadership, so honor your coach. There's nothing wrong with asking him, hey, coach, am I going to be able to get back to defense? I was like, but also be the best right tackle that you can be, because if you want God to honor you, you have to honor your authority, and you have to humble yourself before men. So go to practice with a good attitude, have fun, explain to your coach what you're thinking. Don't hold it in. And ask him, say, Coach, I don't know the playbook. I'm sorry, my dad held me back from organized football, and I don't know what other kids know, but I can do it if you just walk me through it.
Right.
And he was like, okay, all right. And he kind of left the house with a little bit of molly grubs. He came home from practice that day, super excited. The world is great. And I was like, how'd practice go today? And he immediately dragged me into the hallway and showed me a blocking technique for a right tackle that the coach walked him through, because he used his words, and he was like, hey, coach, I don't understand. And yeah, I want to play defense, but if you're going to have me at right tackle, I need you to teach me, because I've never learned it.
Right. So he did exactly as you asked.
So the coach took him to the side, showed him some plays, showed him some blocking techniques.
Communication.
And then Julian's like, oh, I got to run people over. I got to knock people down. And he worked through a situation that he hopefully will carry and remember as he grows.
That's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, y'all are going through a hard time right now. You're going through this right now because I am here to help you work through this. Because and to learn the tools to be able to deal with something like this if it happens again. Because when you move out and you have this happen and you don't know how you're supposed to react or what's coming next, and you freak out, that's not going to be helpful to anybody.
Right.
And you'll not have had the tools. So I'm like, yes, have those emotions. Let's talk about it and why you're at
so
that
it
point.
goes back to children without fathers and mothers are more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and behavioral problems. Julian experienced all those because he got moved from defense to offense at a 14-year-old level. To the rest of us, like, what's the big deal? But at a 14-year-old level, when you want to be the superstar defensive end and coach moves you to right tackle, you have a question, right? You question your self-worth. Am I not good enough? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not as good as they say I am. Maybe I'm just going to be stuck on the line. But because I was there and Amy was a part of it and we were able to talk him through it and coach him through it, because 6'6", 240-pound, 14-year-old with behavioral problems is one thing. Now, 25-year-old, 6'7", 290-pound behavioral problem is another thing. Right? That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay. When we get back, fatherless daughter syndrome. It's a real thing. And listen, I promise everybody, I got more stuff to talk about. We've got to talk about the DSA. You may not know that, but you know Project 2025. Why is the DSA not on everybody's top list? Florida Man Radio, Jonathan Morris, YouTube, and the world. We'll be right back. So sometimes we open these things up, and they take a lot longer than I thought they were going to take, but I'm okay.
Did we get even through half of those?
No, but we're going to get through all of them,
Okay.
and then we're going to move on, because I believe there's a direct correlation in today's society, in today's youth, in today's what you would call, what do you call somebody from 18 to like 30? I mean, I know technically they're
Millennials?
adults. Well, I don't want to try to title them. I don't want to label them with that.
Young
I understand
adults.
millennials. But would they be young adults?
Young adults, yes.
Okay. I understand 18's an adult, but there's that group there.
That's funny.
I know, right? That's ridiculous, first of all. I
Who
think
thought that up?
30 should be the new adult.
Right.
But I think it's a product of what's happening in the home. And I understand stress and trying to pay the bills and the economy we live in and inflation and everything that's going on that causes people to have to work and have to be away from home, and kids have to grow up fast. And don't get me wrong, I grew up where my mom and dad worked. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was a farmer. You know, sometimes you wouldn't see your dad for 3 days because he was gone at 4 in the morning. He didn't get home till 10 or 11 at night. And sometimes he missed vacations. And that may be why I have some of my issues. Click, 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 click. But my dad was a great man. But fatherless daughter syndrome. A father-daughter relationship plays a crucial role in a girl's emotional and psychological development. When a father is absent from his daughter's life, it can lead to a range of psychological effects known as the father-daughter syndrome.
I'm going to see how many of these I check off.
Okay, you ready?
I mean, my dad was there, though. Let me.
All right, listen.
Part of
Fathers
it.
hold a significant role in their daughters' lives, providing love, guidance, and support. Their presence helps shape the child's self-esteem, confidence. Father's influence contributes to emotional health and formation of a secure achievements. Do you agree with that?
I can see wanting, yeah, okay.
All right, girls who grow up without a father, okay, or constant parental figure, whether due to divorce, abandonment, or other circumstances, the absence of a father can leave a long-lasting impact on the father's well-being. The absence of a father, here we go, can lead to feelings of abandonment, rejection. This void by his absence can create emotional turmoil, leaving her searching for validation and acceptance from other sources.
Yep.
It gets better.
Okay.
Growing up without a father, all right, the lack of a father's affirmation and support can result in feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, diminishing sense of worth.
Yeah, I believe all that.
All right, it can lead to depression, anxiety, emotional distress.
Yep.
It can also deal with her, this is where it gets good.
Uh-oh.
And this goes for sons and daughters. Identity and self-identity struggles from lack of a father.
That is timely.
The absence of a father's influence can make it challenging for a daughter or son to establish a strong sense of self-worth and identity. Without a father's guidance, he or she may struggle, and he or she doesn't mean thems. It means he is a boy or she is a girl, sons or daughters. Well, in today's world, you have to clarify that.
Right.
You know, without a father's guidance, the son or the daughter may struggle to navigate their own beliefs and values and may cling or align to values of the mass audience.
Yeah, I could
May
see that.
cling or align with the values of a mass audience.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with kids these days. Even with both their parents home, that social media,
Yes.
that's the mass audience that they're looking
But-
for approval for, not their parents anymore.
All right, but I need everybody to understand what I'm saying. And you just hit the nail on the head. Even with children from a mom and dad in the home, they're clinging to the opinions and the
Approval, acceptance.
of the mass audience.
Yeah.
They do not know how to navigate their own beliefs, their own self-worth, or their own identity. So let's pause right here for a brief note from our sponsor. Mom and dads, wake up and raise your damn kids. Now, back to the show. There's a difference between checking off boxes, okay? I got a mom and I got a dad. Box checked, box checked. But I'm lonely. I'm depressed. I'm isolated. I have a 12-year-old daughter who sat in at the beginning of the show. And in a 12-year-old's shy words in front of the camera, you ought to see her talk when no one's around.
Oh, yeah. She'll carry on a conversation with me while I'm setting up, like, the entire time.
Do you know there was a time about a year ago that she would not even ask me to straighten her hair? She wouldn't even ask. She wouldn't ask me to help her with anything.
A year ago, you were super, super busy.
I understand that, but that doesn't matter. Because remember, she said, it doesn't matter why I'm gone. It's just that I'm gone. And when I quit drinking and drugging and doing all the crazy stuff I used to do, I had people that were like, oh, you need to join a men's life group. You need to get a group of guys and go bowling or go fishing or go this or go that. And no one understood me at church. I was like, listen, I left a life of abandonment so I could be home with my children. When we all meet up and get together, all we talk about is being better dads. But yet, y'all don't ever shut up. Like, we'll go to, like, there was a group I used to be a part of, and they would meet on Mondays at 7 o'clock. And I'd tell my wife and kids, hey, on Monday, I'm going to this men's group. It's going to help me be a better dad, a better husband. You know, I'm learning more about the Bible. And I'd go over there, and I wouldn't get home till midnight because they would never stop talking. They would never stop preaching. They would never stop telling us how to be better. And then they wanted to start doing it twice a week because once a week wasn't good enough. You weren't learning enough. So finally, I stood up in one of the groups. I was like, guys, I'm not coming back. And they're like, why? I was like, because everything you're preaching, you don't live. I was like, we all have kids at home. We all have wives at home. And we're telling them, don't worry, we're out learning how to be better. But if I'm going to be gone till midnight, I'd rather be drunk on Jim Beam than sitting here with y'all talking about your problems and how to be better. My kids still don't have a daddy at home. And they're like, oh, brother, you're missing the point. You're learning. You're building the tools. I was like, as I build these tools, my kids are growing up, and my wife's alone in her bed. I was like, dude, I love y'all a little bit, but I'm not coming back. I was like, how about we all make a commitment that from now on Mondays and Thursdays, we spend from 7 p.m. to midnight with our families. And then we check in with each other through text message or phone calls on how our families are doing.
How'd that go over?
They never invited me back, and they don't talk to me no more. But I'm cool with it because I'm not going to say their names.
You prioritized what was correct.
I'm not going to say their names or pick on them, but most of those men are either separated or in some type of an affair or back drinking or doing some type of drug. Their wives are on social media complaining about their husbands. They don't even go to the same church service together. And their lives are no more better now than they were back then. And now I have a family unit where it's the best family unit I've ever had. And I do apologize publicly to Audrina, JJ, and Alina because when they were born, I was 17, 18, 19, 20. And I didn't understand I was raising children. And if it wasn't for my mom and dad, they probably would be in a bad shape. I wasn't a bad dad. Like, I didn't beat them and abuse them. And
you just didn't know how to be a dad. Nobody knows how. It doesn't matter if they're 18 or 30.
Yeah, I met Amy. We got pregnant. Had a baby. I used to hunt and go out on boats and jet skis and be gone all night and be gone for 4, 5, 6 days at a time. And then all of a sudden you have these little people and you're still growing up yourselves and you don't think you're neglected. Oh, go spend the weekend with grandma and grandpa. Go spend the weekend with grandma and grandpa. Hey, next week, grandma and grandpa are going to take you to school all week. Won't that be fun? And of course, their kids, they don't have the ability to say, no, Dad, that won't be fun. It's going to suck because I want to be with my dad, you know? And by the time I realized they were already 8, 9, 10 years old, and no matter how much you try to make up, you can't make up.
No.
You can only be better. So I just wanted to, it's just so
then
important
he went
to me.
on to have 5 more kids.
I did. God is good.
He's like, I'm going to make it right this time.
Okay, check this out. Growing up, children rely on their parents to keep them safe. Fathers, stereotypically, that's some bull crap. Wish I could say the other word on the radio, stereotypically. No, that's what it is. Fathers have a role to play. We provide, we protect, and we discipline. Right? It's not stereotypically. That's what dads do. All right, mothers nurture, feed, emotional support, teach them how to sew and do dishes. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm not actually teaching them how to sew.
I'm just playing. Nobody sews anymore.
Oh, okay, good.
This can all lead to daddy issues, or what they now call in the therapeutic community, father wounds. And I said that kind of facetiously, but I don't want to make fun of it. Because
I'll do that.
Wait, you think father wounds are
fun
really?
of it. Like, that's a
I
silly
think it's
name.
real, though. I think it's real.
Sure.
I think fathers can unintentionally. Now, some fathers intentionally do it. But I think some fathers, in the name of, I got to go get it. I got to go make the money. I got to take care of the family. We need a bigger house. We need vacation. We need bigger vehicles. That they can lose track of the most important thing I have right now in this season is to raise my children. I can buy a boat when they're 20. I can go on vacation when they're 20. I can get a second home when they're 20. Right now, I need to be here for my children. And I think the standard society puts on us, keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, we forget that our number one responsibility is to raise our children, which in return is the next generation. Because we don't do inbreeding anymore. So listen, if you're raising scumbag kids at the hippopotamus house, right? And I'm raising great kids at the Moore's house, and then they meet, and my daughter and your son marry, your son brings all of your values to my family.
Oh, boy.
Or my daughter brings all of her.
I'm just kidding. My kids are wonderful.
We don't do vegetarians in the Morris family.
Oh, yeah, that would be a problem. Wait.
He's already off the list. He's done. He didn't even qualify. I'm just playing. He's a good-looking boy. He's a nice kid. He is a good young man. I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but you have great children. Just a little bit of time.
I really do.
A little bit of time I spent with him. But a father's wound refers to a household in which a father is emotionally or physically absent.
I just hate the new terminology for everything. I mean, call it what it is. I hate like the whole, okay, now we're blaming the father for you being a miserable human being. Okay, there's a point in your lifetime where you either succumb to it or you learn from it.
I get that. Trust me, I do. I
And
get that.
everybody is given that opportunity.
I understand. And
Okay.
listen, guys, I'm sorry if you think I'm going soft, but this is important to me because I've lived it. And I never would have believed it if I had not lived it. And I believe God gave me the 8 children, 4 and 4, to show me things I messed up on, things I need to do better, things that hopefully I can amend. I still haven't talked to my son JJ now. It's been 14 months. Maybe 15
You'll get
months
to
now.
there. You'll get there.
I know he will. And thank
No,
God he's
you
talking.
will.
No.
You'll get there.
I'm lost.
It's okay.
I just want our relationship.
It'll get there.
Yes. So I have a lot to blame. Now, JJ is a grown man now. He has to take his own responsibility. At some point, he's got to suck it up and be a man. Okay? The things that he went through were not near as bad as what some people went through. He just was the effect of a dad who, and I still say this, now I just laugh when I say it, but I raised my children with don't say you're sorry, be better. We don't do sorry at the Morris family. We do better. Don't be sorry, be better. And it's kind of a joke now because everybody around us says it when something happens.
I like that, yeah.
Like even the kids, my kids' friends, if somebody in the room says I'm sorry, they'll be like, Mr. Morris, tell them don't be sorry, be better. And it's like, who wants to live in a world of I'm sorry. No, just be better. Stop saying you're sorry.
We do say
But-
sorry too much as a society in general.
Yes, we do. So here's where I'm trying to go with this, all right? And I'm going to get off of it because we have so much more we need to talk about. It's not just, I think when I get to the next couple stories, it's going to show you the effect of a father. And I want to finish your statement saying at some point, them as adults have to take responsibility for themselves. I agree with that 100%. But imagine this. Imagine being amputated from the knees down. And then growing up in a society where everybody else has legs. And somebody coming to you at some point, and you did nothing wrong. You did nothing to have your legs cut off. You were just there. And for whatever reason, your legs didn't develop, they got cut off, and you have no legs. And now you have to go out into a society and adapt and deal with everybody who has legs. And imagine people telling you, you're an adult now, deal with it. You can't keep blaming the fact that you ain't got legs, that you don't walk around. Figure out how to walk around.
So you're saying it is a physical handicap.
I now believe, 5 years ago, I'd have been like, BS, you're crazy out of your mind, you're soft, you're a punk, get over it, right? Emotions are for losers, all right? But now I truly believe that fathers and mothers can physically, through emotions, handicap their children with social skills, identity skills, and we're raising a group of kids that are, for some reason, lost. And again, I'm not blaming parents for everything. But even in a household with a mom and a dad, if the kid is on their iPad or their iPhone or their laptop 15 hours a day, they're up till 2, 3 in the morning scrolling, you're not being a parent. You just live there. And then you send your kids off to school and they're being taught all these woke agendas. And then they come home and they walk through the door and they're like, Mom, Dad. And you're like, wait a minute, I got to finish this phone call. And then by the time you finish the phone call, you forgot they called your name, and they're already in their room with the door closed on social media because social media always has time for them. Social media is always there every time they click the button. Social media, we don't live in the days of dial-up AOL no more. Social media don't tell them to wait. I'm busy. Come back later. Social media answers every question they have as soon as they ask it. And every time, a lot of times, our response is, give me a second, I'm busy. As soon as I finish, I'll be right back. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. How about this? Let me take a break, I'll be right back. So we really pulled the Band-Aid off, and we've been exploring daddy issues, if you will, father wounds, the lack of a father and a complete family unit. And even when the father is home, but he's not home, he's occupied with too many other things, and we feel like there's no hope. But during the break, I ran into my other daughter, who just popped in, Aurora Morris, And Aurora said something to me that changed my life and made me feel so great. Would you mind telling everybody what you told me?
Love keeps no record of wrongs.
Oh, there's hope for us all, dads. If you've made some mistakes, if you've been too occupied with other things other than your family and your children, love keeps no record of wrongs. Thank you, Rory. I love you. Now, let's move on to records of wrongs, the DSA. Heather, do you know what the DSA is?
No, I'd never heard of it until today.
But you know what the Project 2025 is?
Only because, yes.
Because they push it on us. The
Right.
media jams us with crap they want us to know and they want us to fight over. But yet they leave out the important stuff. The only reason I'm bringing up the DSA is because they are the Democratic Socialists of America. Now, you think the Democrats are crazy.
They're like, that's legit, their name. Okay, continue.
Yeah, that's legit. They have about 92,000 members and chapters in all 50 states. They just publicly endorsed the Harris-Walz ticket.
Democratic anything, I would expect to endorse that ticket.
Well, there's a reason that's a big deal. Because they made some statements, and I'm going to read this to you, just to give you an idea of why them coming out to endorse Harris-Walz campaign ticket should wake you up, should open up your eyes to everything. Because this same DSA practically hates Joe Biden.
What?
Oh, yeah. They hate him.
But they love Kamala.
They love her now
Okay,
because of Walz.
let's hear it.
All right? Joe Biden has been a warmonger and a perpetrator of genocide, a shill for corporations, an enemy of immigrants and the environment, and a failure to the working class. He has earned a disgraceful end to his career. While Biden's departure from the presidential race today improves the chances that we may avoid a presidential Trump presidency, whoever the Democratic nominee will be undoubtedly falls short of the working class. Now, this is prior to Walz. More Americans are becoming painfully aware that the leadership of the Democratic Party is completely unprepared to fight for the far right with the ferocity required. Democratic insiders admitted that Joe Biden was only anointed in 2020, not just because he could beat Trump, but because they wanted to beat the overwhelmingly popular Democrat social candidate, Mr. Bernie Sanders. Since becoming president, Biden has taken every opportunity to ruin his chances of re-election. Most notably, he continues to fund and actively support Israel's horrific genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. He's tanking his popularity among young voters. He has offered zero vision for the future, Heather. He actually said nothing fundamentally will change. And as social and economic conditions get worse, we see that that was a lie from Joe Biden. Neither major party has a vision that serves the working class. We need an alternative to the Republican Party's proto-fascism and war on unions, immigrants, women, and transgenders. An alternative Democratic Party is complacent. They hold no value. We need a new party that represents a mass movement of everyday people who wants to stand up and fight for a world that is free of war, bigotry, and corporate exploitation. We deserve a party that will champion workers' power, fight for liberation and dignity for all people. They will end the climate crisis and create universal programs for free public housing, free college, and Medicaid for all. Who's going to pay for that?
I was about to ask that. I was like, I don't make enough money to pay for all that.
Who's going to pay for that?
Which, I mean, that'd be wonderful. But that's not how money works. That's not how society works. Like, we've been producing all this money and, like, for other countries and just handing it over. And now we're like, wait, how's that go again?
I want to fully, I get it. Oh, we're going to get there. I have a lot of examples. We're going to fully exploit the DSA because you need to understand that they are what they call a grassroots movement. And don't get me wrong, when you read about the DSA, there's a lot of things. I even told Heather, wow, I agree with some of the things they're talking about. But they wrap it up in a pretty bow, a shiny object Kind of like, did you see that Harris Walsh rally when everybody got handed reflector armbands? And as they cheered and clapped, all the little bands and the things on their wrists were like lighting up and glowing, almost like they were at a rave and they had their phones up with lights on, like, we are the children. We are the world to make the place a brighter place.
Oh,
so let's
you
start
have butchered
giving.
that. Stop.
There's a choice we're making. We're changing all our lives.
I'm done.
They put out a statement. The DSA says capitalism is a system designed by owning class to exploit the rest of us for their own profit.
Owning class?
Yeah. So
People who own stuff like houses and property, or
how
people
dare
who
you own your own business or own your house? Yes. Now, don't get me wrong. They put up a good fight. But if you're smart, and this goes back to fathers not being there and your children being raised by social media, liberal woke colleges, the new agenda that they have in public education to have sheeple who jump on board, eat the feed and the grain in front of you, and don't worry about the pasture that you could be on. Because it's not fair to own things. Just take the bucket we give you, eat out of the bucket, and be happy. Right?
absolutely.
That's what they want. They just want sheeple. We must replace capitalism with a democratic socialism, a system where ordinary people have a real voice in our workplace, our neighborhoods, and our societies. We believe that there are many avenues that feed into democratic road to socialism. Our vision further pushes the historical social democracy and leaves behind authoritarian visions of socialism in the dustbin of history. Socialism. How's that working out for most places? Now, I believe socialism and communism go hand in hand. But the DSA says nay. Nay to that. Don't be fooled. You must own something. You must be a property owner that feels jeopardized. They insult us, by the way. So if you go to school and go get an education, go to trade school, become an electrician, a plumber, a farmer, a business owner, even if you're the guy pressure cleaning people's houses and you work out of your van, you own that business. That's yours. You went out and you said, you know what? Nothing wrong with working for companies. Nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5 job. But I want to be more in control of what I do. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to put it all on the line and see if I can build something. How dare you? What about the rest of us?
You got to work together. You can't be a
Can't
go-getter.
own anything. And how dare you own something? I want to own something. I should own it too. When they talk about unions and they talk about ownership in the workplace, that's like when those idiots at Starbucks were telling the Starbucks owner, you should resign, you should sell the company and give it all to us so we can all own it. Well, wait a minute. It wasn't your idea. You didn't put all your money on the line. You didn't build, and I'm not promoting Starbucks. I'm just using them as an example. You didn't build Starbucks from nothing into this conglomerate that we now have. You work here and get a paycheck. If you don't like it, go work somewhere else. Or how about this? Go open Joe's coffee shop or Cindy's coffee shop and compete with me. Don't hate me for owning a place that employs you. Do you understand? They create hate in the workforce, and they tell the workers, instead of appreciating your job and being glad that you have a paycheck, you should hate the owner because he shouldn't be the owner. He should let the employees own the place.
So backwards.
So in any society where everyone holds equal wealth, there can be no material incentive to work because no one does or no one receives rewards for
Obviously.
work well done, right?
Right.
Let me ask you if this is where our country's at right now. The further argue is that socialism incentivizes the increased productivity for all people, right? And that the loss of those effects would lead to stagnation. What kind of stagnant? Inflation's up, workforce is down, nobody wants to work anymore, everybody's mad at the other guy, everybody's counting the other guy's money. The DSA would argue communist is nothing like socialism. However, communists can come out of socialism. In their own statement, they agree to that. All right, a few downsides of socialism. Guess what? by being an owner, you have to foot the bill. See, they leave that part out. The DSA don't talk about this part. So the guy who owns the company, Starbucks, Morris Family Farms, Organic Meats, Sears, JCPenney's, Home Depot, Hobby Lobby, Publix, we could go on and on and on of all the different people who own companies. Guess what they're liable for? The tax burden, the liability insurance, the payroll, the power bill, the water bill, the property insurance, the parking lot, property taxes.
All of it, right.
So who's going to pay for that?
Oh, and what you told us last week, they also have to pay the extra stuff to the government for each employee.
They have to match, yes. Yeah, the FICA, they have to match all that.
So they are the ones taking care of everything.
So now be careful with your socialist ideas. You want the workers to own the company. So guess what? Pony up out of your paycheck because the taxes go up. Because socialism sounds great. And Kamala Harris and Walz are a threat to our democracy. They are the most socialist people that have ever ran. They make Bernie Sanders look like a poodle in the socialist world. Okay? I wanted to just real quick. Historically, socialism precedes communism, although both are relevant terms in Marxist. Karl Marx, a German philosopher, right? Also Friedrich Engels, who co-authored the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. Cuba, Venezuela, China, North Korea, and I was trying to think of the other one. I lost it. I was going to give you different countries that are socialist. But we'll stick with Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, and China. How's that working out for their people? So when these sheeple who don't have self-worth, they don't have self-identity, they don't know how to deal with situations, they have behavior problems, and they get told by their new father figure, big media, corporate media, the government influence, social media, they latch onto it and they get acceptance. And now you have a mass group of people that have persuaded your child. And when your child is like, Dad, you're crazy. How can you be a Republican? How can you believe in capitalism? We need a socialist society. We need society that works for all the people. They don't understand what they're asking for. And then, just like an owner, all right, an owner of a house, you can pay your mortgage all you want. If you don't pay your property tax, they put a lien on your house and the government takes your house, correct?
Yeah, sure do.
So when all these people that want ownership in everything just cause, like a meth head taking apart a lawnmower just cause, when all these meth head socialists want ownership in everything and then they can't pay their taxes because they don't make enough money to pay taxes, because when you divide everything by everybody, there ain't enough, guess what? The government has to step in and take everything. Socialism always leads to communism. We'll be right back.
All of our time idolizing false prophets. Comparisons the enemy. Stop watching others' pockets. The social system's broken. We divide on every topic. They fabricate the truth and we all monetize.
I'm taking this opportunity to really expose Walz because I don't think people understand who he is and what he stands for. Remember a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we talked about the largest COVID fraud case in the world, feeding families. It's Feeding Our Future Families. It's a non-for-profit company that robbed children.
Yes.
They were supposed to do meals for kids during COVID.
Right.
And they were falsifying documents on how much they were buying, how much they were giving out, and they pocketed $250 million. So that was a Minnesota-based company. And the Minnesota governor, Tim Walz, had set up not an appropriations committee, but an oversight committee governing the income or the intake of federal funds through COVID and the distribution of them. So just like they blamed Trump for January 6th because he was the president and he gave a speech, Walz is trying to sidestep this, saying it wasn't his fault. This was a not-for-profit company that did all this. But it was under his direct supervision. The governor of the state was in charge of all the funds that came in federally from COVID and the assistance and how it was supposed to be distributed. And his team that he had on his staff were the oversight committee of the not-for-profits that were distributing the money. And you want to sit here and make me try to believe that Governor Walz had no idea that somebody stole $250 billion?
Billion.
Million. Sorry.
Okay.
I said billion. Million.
Okay. Million.
It's still
That's
a big number.
lot.
$250 million
Right.
was stolen from the federal government and pocketed under Walz's administration. Now, this is the same socialist guy who says everything is supposed to be distributed between the people. It's supposed to all be for the people.
Now, I understand not letting people go hungry, but like that's not how that works.
Not at all. He is also the governor that signed into law in Minnesota that if your child as young as 6 years old gets confused about their gender and they want a sex change, no, this is fact. You can look it up.
Yeah, no.
He is one of the governors that signed into law that the DCF, Department of Children and Families or Social Service, whatever it is in Minnesota, can come into your home and remove your child and possibly charge you with child neglect and lock you up and have your child raised in foster care because you didn't agree with cutting off the tallywhacker of a 6-year-old. How dare you?
Oh, I would die in that fight.
Oh, they'd have to kill me.
I would.
So I need people to understand who they're voting for. Walz is not the white knight coming in to save the Democratic Party. He's not the champion of democracy. He is the definition of authoritarianism. It's kind of crazy that Karl Marx, one of his quotes was, if you want to mislead the population, you accuse your opponent of doing what you're doing. And that's how you get to socialism and to communism. Because what you're doing, you accuse the other party of doing it so much bigger and worse that everybody is focused on them. And then by the time your opposition is voted out, you have all the power. And then you retain all the power because now you have the people trapped in a system they can't get out of. All this goes back to Karl Marx and Marxism and communism. And isn't it crazy that
parallels right now because we have people in situations that they can't get out of. You want them to have housing, but they can't afford it because they spent what would have been their down payment on overpriced rent.
Right. So you offer them Section 8 housing.
That doesn't solve the problem.
I know it doesn't. And this is the other thing that rattles my cage, but it lines up with the world we're in right now. And I always say it wrong. I don't mean any disrespect. Anti-Semitism.
Semitism?
Is that the word?
Anti-Semitism?
Anti-Semitism. So I don't mean any disrespect to Jewish people. But we are at a highest level of hate for the Jewish people and Israel we've ever been at in the history of mankind. Okay?
It is shocking to hear people talk.
But another thing that blows my mind is Karl Marx and socialism was founded out of Germany, and that is where Hitler came from and did everything he did and tried to march across the world with socialist, communist views. And now we have two people running for the White House who openly endorse and fundamentally operate on these Marxist, socialist, communism views, and people are lapping it up like lapdogs, like sheeple. Get your head in the bucket and eat what we give you and be happy because your belly is full today. Don't worry about tomorrow. We'll take care of it. And then before you know it, all we like sheep have gone astray, headed off to slaughter, willfully headed off to slaughter. I don't have words anymore for it. I don't even know what else to say anymore about it. But if you are the ones, I stand with her, Kamala Harris, and Tim Walz, there's something wrong with you. You need psychiatric treatment.
Or you just need to educate yourself.
Yes. Now, because of all this, it creates these tailspins that we're in. All right? And we talked about this in a clip earlier in the week, but the NBA, the National Black Farmers Association. Right? I think his name is John Brody Jr. He's the president of the National Black Association. He's pitching a bitch. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. He's pitching a fit. He's mad as all get out, okay? And he's trying to bring public attention and mainstream media whirlwind against John Deere, Race cars are going down the street. We got to get better walls. But he's mad, but he's not honest about what he's mad about. So John Deere had this whole DEI program that we all know about. And they were doing stuff with trans communities and LGBT youth and just all kinds of stuff that did not relate to agriculture. And their customer base called them out on it. So John Deere said, okay, we're going to readjust and we're going to start focusing on more of our money, veteran affairs for farming. They even have an LGBTQ farming association. And I'm cool with that. You want to be a gay farmer?
Do they farm different than straight people?
No, they don't. It's just a figurehead to make you look good in that SEG or whatever that stupid corporation score they're all doing now in the New World Order. But
okay.
John Deere is still, if you will, supporting lesser communities, for lack of a better word. I don't have the right word for it. But they're focusing everything on rural agriculture production. That's what they readjusted to. Now, part of that is the NBFA did not get the couple $1 million they were asking for from John Deere. Okay? Because they were in that DEI program where just because they were national and they were black, they were going to get a bunch of money from John Deere, all right, as a not-for-profit organization. Well, John Deere excluded them from this year's budget of funding. So they're raising hell about it, and they're calling John Deere now bigots and racist and this and that and just on and on and on. But if you read beneath the lines, they're only mad because they didn't get their check. If they would have got their check, the NBFA would have never said a word about John Deere. They would have ponied up, sucked up, bootlicked John Deere as the best tractor building organization in the world. What I don't understand is if the NBFA was so mad and so distraught, why are they not calling John Deere to task over the fact that John Deere laid off more than 1,500 people already, and they're about to, in the next 6 months, close 2 more manufacturing or building plants where they build John Deere's at? They're laying off white Americans, black Americans, Asian Americans, Spanish Americans, all Americans, right? I hate that, black American, white American. We're just Americans and we're not Americans.
Yes.
All right? But John Deere is going into rural communities and they're decimating them. I know what it's like. I came from Pahokee. When the sugar mills closed, when U.S. Sugar closed up some of the mills, it decimated the whole town. Because what they don't understand is when you lay off 1,500 people or 2,000 people in a community, those people now no longer put new tires on their cars. They no longer buy groceries. They no longer buy TVs. They no longer go to the bowling alley. So they affect all the other businesses in that town because they don't have a paycheck anymore. So they're not out spending money in their communities. So by John Deere laying off 1,500 people in the town, it affects more businesses, which creates more layoffs, which put more people head in a bucket, eat what we give you, and be happy. Sheeple. John Deere has moved the majority of their building plants to Mexico for cheaper labor. They sold us out. Why is nobody mad as hell at that? I can't talk enough crap about John Deere. I'm disgusted. It's absolutely asinine. They made $7.2 billion. Why is it the SEC or whoever regulates trading, the people that regulate trading?
FTC, right?
I don't know.
Federal Trade Commission?
Okay. Why are they not actively investigating John Deere? In 2023, John Deere spent every penny, $7.2 billion. Every penny of their profit, they spent it on corporate buyback stock options. So John Deere knew last year that they were going to lay everybody off. Their stock was going to drop. They were going to buy it all back as cheap as they could. And when they go to Mexico and they reduce their labor costs, their profits are going to grow.
I mean, it's kind of genius if you want to get rich quick.
Yes, but this is
kind
why.
of a dick move.
But this is why people ask me what side of the fence I'm on, because I am for 100% free capitalism. I am, but I'm not for John Deere doing this kind of crap.
Yeah.
They intentionally closed plants, laid off people, caused their stock to drop, bought it all back. Now moving to Mexico to increase profit, so their stock is going to skyrocket. And then when they sell it off, that 7.2 is going to turn into like 23 billion. That's un-American. And the American people are left behind. So where is Harris and Walz and the DSA and all these other people saying they are fighting for the working class people to own more in the working environment? They're nowhere. They're crickets. And that's why you have to vote Trump. you have to vote Republican because Trump is the only one that had the balls to say, all right, corporations, you're going to go to another country? Well, guess what? We're going to put tariffs on everything that comes back into America so we can rebuild our American economy. Between the Ribs with Jonathan Morris, I hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week. Heather, thanks for the production.
Thank you.
We are out of here.
Fake woke, facts don't care about feelings, ain't no